And tell people, so if they're just listening to this for the first time, what you used to do for the CIA, so they understand that you're coming from a position of you actually understand this stuff.
Yeah, I was in the operations directorate. So the agency is made up of, essentially, they change the name sometimes, but 4 directorates. So you have operations, you have intelligence, which is all the smart people, the reports or officers, the analysts. You have science and technology, which is where they develop all the amazing gear that comes out of the agency, and a lot of which then ends up in the commercial sector. So if anybody's walking around with a defibrillator, that battery technology came out of S&T research, drones, satellite technology. The U-2 stealth program, U-2 plane was developed out of and run out of the agency. So incredible things that come out of there. And then admin. But I was in the operations directorate and worked on everything from counter-narcotics operations to counterinsurgency operations and then obviously counter-terrorism operations. So I guess the point is that, there's something here. I'm not quite sure how to explain it, but there's an interesting point that I think I've been pondering, which is that listening to the hearing today and listening to the way that the Democratic senators who were looking to kind of make this the key issue, there's a sense of we're not putting it in context of the time and the national mood. And that's a dangerous thing because the laws were different than they are now. And they were different. And what that means is that because in the wake of 9/11, and I don't want to say that values change, but I think that they do in the sense of what people are willing to do. And whether you're talking about, okay, we're willing to have a rendition interrogation program in the wake of 9/11. Now we're not, of course. And so I think it's anyway. I think there's a danger to that line of questioning where they kept talking about how did you feel about it, and it's not they're mixing this, and I'm not eloquent enough to explain it, but I found it fascinating that was a question they wanted to focus on.
I think there's a real danger to people or for people that don't have any experience in actual war or really understand combat or really understand what can happen and what can go wrong in talking about it with the same sort of language that you would use to describe office politics.
Yes. I think that's what damn it, that's what I was trying to say.
How do you feel? How do you feel about this? We don't want a bad work environment. Should we torture?
Right.
No, we want to save lives, but we don't want this guy to feel bad.
We don't want him to feel bad. And look, there was actually this some people were entertaining the idea that, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed would come out and talk to the senators, as going through this confirmation process about what? About his feelings. Well, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was the mastermind of 9/11.
And he actually requested to talk about her.
Right, and about his
torture.
I guess he just wanted to reflect on from his perspective.
And isn't he still locked up?
Yeah,
he's still in Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, God forbid he should rot in jail. But I think that's kind of that's sort of where we've come to, and I think in part again because there's distance, right? There's time,
yes.
And so anyway, she should be confirmed. The whole rendition interrogation program was reviewed ad nauseum, thousands of pages written. And interestingly enough, a lot of the people up there on the Hill right now in this confirmation process, the senators who are saying that they need to know more, are the same ones who were there before. So theoretically, either they didn't read all the material that was given to them about this, or they've forgotten it, or they're, or in reality, this is more about Trump than it is about her, which, I don't want to be shocking anyone by saying that perhaps there's political grandstanding going on. But she is eminently qualified.
That never happens.
No, it wouldn't happen up there.
Not in America.
Maybe somewhere else. Not here.
So
anyway,
you support her. You think she's an excellent choice. And
look, seven operational tours, several management positions, and I guess at the end of the day, it comes down to I would rather have somebody who's gone through that experience. She played a small role. She was not a senior person. By the way, John Brennan was far more senior in the organization at the time of that program being run, and he was confirmed as President Obama's director. So maybe the senators have a different standard for a female candidate. I don't know. But
do you think it's that, or do you think it's maybe more time since 9/11? Obviously, Obama came into office. It was not that long after 9/11. There was still, 7 years later, still thoughts in people's mind about it.
Well, interesting enough, I mean, that was in 2013 when he was confirmed. But in 2009, he was. They wanted to confirm, or they wanted to bring him up as the appointee for the director of the CIA. Again, it would have been President Obama's first term. But they decided not to because for the reason that they thought, well, maybe it's too close to after and they didn't want to go through the heartburn of having this process. So instead, they brought him into the White House. He became assistant to the president and deputy national security dude for counterterrorism. And then 4 years later, they brought him in as and confirmed him as the director for the CIA. So I guess, and he has now come out in support of Gina Haspel, the new director designate. So I think she will get there, as she should. The focus should be going forward. She's been very clear about we are not revisiting the old days of rendition and interrogation. It's not going to happen, and she's been very clear about that, and including today during the hearings. So hopefully it'll get done because it would be nice to think the senators would do their job and choose somebody who's appropriate for the job.
Well, it's strange who gets to choose and who doesn't get to choose who runs an organization like the CIA and whether or not they have an actual understanding of what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's a good point because some of the questions today from some of the senators made you believe that perhaps they don't really. They do that. I don't want to be glib. Look, they all sit on the committees. They theoretically are privy to all this information. There is a very well-worn path that goes from Langley, where the agency headquarters is based, up to Capitol Hill, from briefers going back and forth and discussing programs and that, they're classified material, but these people, the Gang of Eight, the people that are the majority leaders, the heads of the committees, the intel committees, they're all privy to this information. And they were all privy to the information about the rendition program and the interrogation program. And they all knew about it. There were no objections raised at that time, 2002, 2003. So these people all knew about it. So maybe those senators are asking her how she feels about it now. Maybe they should turn around and look in the mirror and ask themselves how they feel about it. But they're not going to do that. So anyway, enough said. She's eminently qualified. Should happen. Because we got big issues. We got Iran. We got North Korea. We got the dealings with China and the South Pacific. We got issues with Russia.